Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the Visibility Wiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Wiz, and welcome to this episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less. Today, our guest is Georgia London, and she helps women who need a kick in the pants to get over the I'm not good enough story, recover from procrastination and perfectionism so that they can create the passionate, purposeful, and profitable business that their soul is calling out for them to do. Women like you who are hiding their brilliance, she helps to step boldly into that brilliance and build a business of greatness that you deserve. Welcome, Georgia. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. It's great to be here. I always enjoy talking with you.
Oh, thank you. I always enjoy talking with you too. And to begin with, can you share a personal or business challenge that you had to overcome in order to achieve your level of success?
Oh, absolutely. There's always challenges, I think, to success, and no matter where you are in your business. But one of the ones early in my business was learning that no doesn't really mean no, right? That I don't have to take no personally. I don't have to take no as a defeat. So I kind of turned no into it. I think my saying was, no doesn't mean no, it means what's next. And so, I developed this sort of a thicker skin about people saying no to me when I first started out in my business. My very first business was a gymnastics school. And so I needed a lot of money to build that school. It's not like an online business where you can get started for $20 a month or something. I needed hundreds of thousands of dollars for equipment, for a building and all of that. And I got a lot of no's. And I started thinking, is there something wrong with me? Why are they saying no to me? And I started that trip down self-doubt lane. And then I realized, no doesn't mean no. It just means what's next, And I got that funds. I got the funds. I started the school. And then 3 years later, I sold it for about triple what I had originally invested. So it's awesome.
I love that the what's next, yes. And a lot of clients, though, they're afraid like the no, that somebody rejects them, that they're a no. So you're saying, hey, if somebody tells them no, just say what's next, go on to the next person and not take it personally, right?
Exactly.
Yes. And you said you help people get over the I'm not good enough story. So what does the I'm not good enough story look like, and how do you help them overcome that?
Well, I think we all carry a story, yeah. In fact, we probably carry lots of stories. The whole issue around money, right? Like money stories, like money doesn't grow on trees, that kind of thing. Well, the I'm not good enough story, I think, happens very early in life. There's, these two, I'm a psychologist by training, Cindy, as you know, so I'll throw in a little of my psychology here, but there's a wounding, right? Well, there's actually two woundings in childhood. One is before the age of 7 or right at 7, usually 3 to 6. And then there's a second wounding early in adolescence, and that can be anywhere between 10 and 14. And somewhere along the way, people get this wound of, I'm not good enough. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's even a teacher or a brother or a sibling or somebody does something, says something that wounds you, hurts you in a way that you start feeling like, wow, I'm not good enough. I can't sweep that floor as good as grandma wants me to, or, whatever it might be. Or I can't draw that A like the teacher wants me to draw. And so that wounding happens, and then we carry that story with us almost forever, right? Now, there's ways to care, the wounding is there. It never really goes away, but we certainly can do lots to overcome it, right? And to keep it, that story of I'm not good enough, from getting in the way of us having the biggest success that we want. So that's what I'm not good enough is about. And I help women to overcome that by really looking at the wounding, right? Like going right back, like in a meditation and a visualization, and go back to that time. And everybody remembers, believe me, I've never had anyone say, I don't know when it was, like, boom, right away. They've got it. And we kind of work it through, right? We write about it, we talk about it, we rewrite the story, we talk the story differently, and we really get through that, right? So that we can say, let it go, right? And then people say, I am good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can do whatever they want, whatever it was that was blocking them or stopping them. Then when we're all feeling really good about ourselves and that we are capable, we are good enough, then nothing gets in the way.
Right. And then we step into our bold brilliance. So what does that look like to be boldly brilliant?
To me, be boldly brilliant means we're willing to go out there, put ourselves out there, to take risk, as you do so wonderfully, telling people to get visible, right? And it's all about getting visible, because if people don't know you, then how are they going to come to you and for your services or for whatever your product or class, course, whatever you're teaching or whatever you're offering? They'll do that once they know you, but you've got to get out there. And if you're too afraid, if you're always in self-doubt, then you're not going to get out there. So I really help people, take that big leap. What's the next step for them?
And that's it. And know that it is a journey, regardless where you are on the journey. It is the journey.
Yeah, and it's all about being bold, right? Being bold and claiming your brilliance, and just get out there and go for it.
Exactly. And as you said at the beginning, it's not being afraid of the no's. Years ago, I sold Tupperware, and I was trying to get Tupperware parties, and I had a list of like 150 people, of past hostesses and past guests. So I went in my bedroom for a couple hours and called all these people up, and I came out of the bedroom, and my husband goes, so how did you do? And I felt defeated. I absolutely felt defeated. I said, I only got one party. And I was thinking, I just spent, 2-3 hours on the phone and only one person booked a party. And my husband looked at me and said, that's one more than you had before. And that one party actually kept me in business until I quit 6 years later.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because
awesome.
because I could follow the trail. So you never know what that one yes is going to bring you.
Exactly. So let me ask you this, Cindy. How do you remember how many people you called?
It was about 150.
150. Okay, so that's good, because I was going to say usually one is about what you get, right? In a cold calling. So 1 out of 200, and you did it.
In business, so often, we get absolutely overwhelmed with what we believe we have to do or we should do. And sometimes we think, oh my God, I should just go back to my job, or I'm never going to be able to leave this job that I absolutely hate. So how can somebody prevent, well, I guess it's two questions. Number one is, how can you prevent that overwhelm? And how can you actually start to build that business that you love that will allow you to leave your day job?
Well, for me, we talked a little earlier about this, about streamlining your business. So I think what gets in people's way more than anything else is the procrastination and overwhelm. Either they're procrastinating, they're not getting the job done, or they're doing so much, they're so busy, they're burning out, or they're just so overwhelmed, they get stuck there. And so I can give you some tips on how to get out of that. So one is to remove distractions, right? It's so easy. And I think this is like the most important thing, because you want to find a place where you won't be disturbed or interrupted. When you have something that you really need done, right? Whether it's cold calling or writing a blog or doing a Facebook Live or whatever you're doing, you got to find some place where you're not going to be disturbed or interrupted. And turn off your phone and your email dings and your internet dings, and stay away from social media, because you need to just focus on task. And a lot of people these days think they have to multitask with everything, but no multitasking. The research shows us it doesn't work. It makes, it just doesn't work. So keep a single focus. I think that removing distractions, keeping that single focus is number one. And then number two, as we all know, we got to write down our goals. You want to write out your goal. I find for me what works best is writing those goals out the night before, so that I start each day with, here's my list, and I need to put it in 3 places. And I know some people can do this only once, but for me, I have to have it on my calendar in a paper calendar. And I use my hand for that because I know that, cognitively our brains process more when we use our hand to write than when we type. And so I put it on my calendar. I have a calendar that has goals for each day. So I put it there, and then I put it on my phone. I do a digital calendar, so I make sure they're there. And then I put the 3 most important ones on a sticky, and I put the sticky on my computer because then when I wake up in the morning, I open my computer, it's there. Oh yeah, I shouldn't go to Facebook. I got to get these 3 things done before I go to Facebook. So I find that's really helpful to write your goals down like that. And, the research says that 80% of 80% of goals are more likely to be complete if we just simply write them down.
Right.
Like another tip is sticking with goals is to post those goals daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And I find a lot of people don't do that. Like we were speaking before, you have a long-term plan in place, like you're working a month ahead, and that's brilliant. And, a lot of people will do their weekly goals, but they don't even put their monthly goals, or they don't put their yearly goals. And I think that's really important to have some idea of what you want to accomplish during the year, and post it. Post it in your office, post it in an accountability group. Maybe you belong to a Facebook group where you could post it. Put it on an app on your phone, but really, put it out there. The big picture, the yearly, monthly, and the daily ones, because that'll give you the energy, the motivation, and even inspiration, I find, to stay focused and get really complete with those goals. And one of the things I really encourage people to do is to write with their other hand. In fact, there's a great book out there called The Other Hand. And so if you're right-handed, you write with your left. If you're left-handed, you write with your right. So if you do journaling or something like that, try a page or 2 with your other hand and see what happens. Most people find it's like first grade again, trying to write, or it's all scribbly and you can't read it, but that's okay, because what happens is that part of your brain, if you're right-handed and you're doing it with your left hand, that creative side of your brain, the right side of the brain, is getting activated just by the use of your left hand. And the brain doesn't know that the A has to look just like that, right? It processes, because it processes in a different way. There's different ways our brain processes. And though the linear side will know that it's an A, the creative side, it's not going to care. But what will it do is it will stimulate the brain, stimulate creativity. And what we found in research too is a lot of times, like when they were doing MRIs, when the right side of the brain fired, we thought that was creativity. But now we found that both sides of the brain, both right and left lobes, have to fire. That's when they both are firing at the same time, is when creativity happens, when creativity occurs. So yeah, I could talk all day. I should stop.
That's very, very interesting though. And I think that's a great tip, because so often we're so focused on, like you said, our goals. And then it comes time to, okay, I have to be creative. What course do I want to create? What blog post do I want to write? And you're so focused on this other stuff that your goals, the creativity may be lacking a little bit. So if I'm understanding correctly, if you just sit there and journal for, 10 minutes, 5 minutes with your right hand and 2 minutes with your left hand, if you're right-handed, that can get your creative juices flowing.
Exactly.
Yes, and
you'll think of things you never would have dreamed of. Yeah.
And so let's get back to the tips on how to, build your business and not be overwhelmed and stop procrastinating.
Sure. So another one, following just on what we were talking about, is color blocking your time. So, allocate 1 to 3 hour block to get your most important tasks done, early in the day as possible. This time might be used for that one thing that will help you achieve your goal or the most important goal that you have. Or it might be the one thing that you really dislike. You know, we've all read, hopefully, Brian Tracy's book, Eat the Frog, right? You want to eat the frog in the morning. You want to get that done with so it's not laying in your brain and body all day and building up anxiety. You know, you just want to get it over with and get it done first thing in the morning. And that way it doesn't prey on you the whole day. I like to use bright, colorful markers because, again, I want my right brain and my left brain firing together because that's when the most creativity occurs. So I color block in my calendar. So all the blues are administrative tasks, and all the reds are the most important tasks, and the greens are my self-care, because I think self-care is really important. You know, otherwise you are going to get frustrated, overwhelmed,
Right.
and burned out unless you practice some self-care for yourself. So I book my self-care in my calendar. You know, I have it color blocked, so I know I need to do that. And so you know, I might use purple for revenue tasks or blue for personal development tasks, you know, so different color blockings to your preference.
Right.
And then another tip, you know, we hear a lot about creating a morning ritual and preparing your day, you know, and preparing your day, you know, not just for your mind, but your body and your spirit. For example, using meditation to clear the mind and focus the mind, get energy and enthusiasm flowing just by taking a walk or doing some yoga stretches or some, you know, dance around the room or something, anything that can get your body moving. And then using, you know, I love affirmations and mantras to connect with the power, that energy greater than ourselves, you know, whatever we want to call that power that's greater than ourselves, and find, you know, you'll find your success by getting in the flow, right? You know, we have all been there where we're going, wow, that was so easy. Wow, how did that happen? Wow, this was cool. I booked that really expensive a client. Oh, I did this, I did that. And it just flowed. And when we get there, when our mind, body, and spirit are in alignment and we're in the flow. So that's really important to take the time to create that morning ritual. And then the sixth thing I have is focusing on one thing, one small baby step at a time. I find that works really well to, you know, I get multiple goals, multiple tasks done just by doing little steps at a time. And then the last one, I think, is being accountable, you know, to create your, you know, to belong to a mastermind group or a mentoring group or a coaching group or a Facebook group, but something where you can be accountable to others. That always increases our progress.
Right.
So, there you go. That's the 7 smart ways to crush procrastination and overwhelm.
Great. And I know that you have a strategy that our listeners can implement in 15 minutes or less to grow their business. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite strategy in that short a time is Facebook Live. I just am a strong believer in getting on Facebook. I mean, 1.4 billion people are on Facebook. Your ideal audience, they're there. They're there somewhere. And the key is finding them. And doing Facebook Lives is a great way for people to get to know you, the like trust factor. You know, when people know you, like you, and trust you, then they're going to want to connect with you and buy from you. And that's what we ultimately want, right? So I really encourage people to take any time they have and just jump on Facebook Live and not worry about what your hair looks like or your makeup looks like. Like, forget all that. Just get on, because your people are going to want you no matter what you look like. There's a group of people that are just going to be attracted to you and want to work with you. And so find those people by letting them get to know you.
And so on Facebook, how often should you be on? Should you try to be consistent, like say 9 o'clock every day, once a week, once a day? What's the best strategies to do Facebook Live to where it is building your business?
I think initially it's best to get on daily, as often as you can. I love these 30-day challenges. Some people do. I think that's really important. Myself, I did a 5-day challenge in my Facebook group and people loved it. There were a lot of people on. I think I got like 350 new members in my Facebook group from just doing a 5-day challenge. You know, it's it's all about consistency. I think that's what's really key with Facebook Live. So maybe you can't do every day. Well, do 3 times a week or do once a week and have a
Mhm.
specific show that's consistent. But at least once a week, people need to be on Facebook Live. And again, if you're starting out in business, 30 days daily. That's the way you're going
Mhm.
to build up your group, your community, and get known. So it depends on where you really are. And then, I always say, yes, it's best if you have a specific show, like Friday at noon Eastern time.
Right.
There's always this show, right?
Mhm.
It's not always possible with our lives. So, I like for people, my clients, I invite them to go into their Facebook insights and find out, where are my people? Are they on Fridays? Are they
Mhm.
mostly on from 9 a.m. till noon, or are they 6 p.m. to midnight? I mean, when are they on? And Facebook Insight gives you a lot of information about that. In fact, it changes, every couple of months. I found my insights change. I guess that depends on what we're doing. And I found out that no one that in my group was on Facebook on Mondays. Like Mondays was a holiday or something. Nobody
Right.
was there. And so I had a show on Mondays and I was wondering, why are the views so low? Well,
Mhm.
that's why no one's there, right? So check your insights, make sure you know when, what day, what time is
Mhm.
best, and do your show that at that time. Be consistent as you can with that.
Sounds great. And thank you, Georgia. And I know that you have a wonderful gift for our listeners. Can you share what it is?
Sure. It's this guide, just a little bit about what we were talking about. It's a guide for 7 super smart ways to crush procrastination and overwhelm. And I go in a lot more detail than I did here on the podcast because we have limited time there. But feel free to download that guide, go over it, read it, and put into practice some of the tips that I shared with you.
Mm. Sounds great. And so to our listeners, you want to head on over to bizsuccessin15.com/Georgia, all lowercase, and grab your 7 super smart ways to crush procrastination and overwhelm. And you'll also be able to re-listen to today's episode to Georgia's Words of Wisdom and download this episode to listen to at your convenience. And Georgia, do you have any parting words?
Um, I think that, what's most important for people to stay out of overwhelm is the practicing self-care. And a lot of us helpers, in the helping professions, and,
Mhm.
that we tend to preach it, but not practice it. And so if there's one thing you can take away from today, I hope it's that you will put just one little practice of self-care into your day, whether it's just a 10-minute walk, a 5-minute meditation,
Mhm.
whatever it might be, but just start, those baby steps of moving towards practicing self-care.
I love it. Thank you very much, Georgia. It's been a pleasure having you. So thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Always a pleasure to be again with you.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, feel free to share it with your friends. Head on over to bizsuccessin15.com, Georgia, and you'll find any links from today's show. You'll be able to re-listen to it and catch up on any episodes that you might have missed. While you're there, be sure to grab Georgia's fabulous gift to you, 7 super smart ways to crush procrastination and overwhelm. Big hugs, and be sure to tune in next week for another great episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.